going to react to this video here. I'm going to react to another Kat video by Kat Abughazelah. Now, my goal for this, I'm going to be reacting to every single video that Kat's made since her announcement to run for Congress. That's my goal. But another goal I have is to be able to say her name correctly without stuttering or pausing. So I think I'm getting it down, and I'm only 2 videos deep. I think it's Kat Abughazelah. I hope I'm saying it right. If I'm saying it wrong, I've got a few months to get it right. So anyways, we saw her video earlier. I thought that she was relatively interesting, and I think that she had some good points. I think that she's a little bit in denial about how popular progressive and woke ideologies are in America. She's like one of those people who's like, oh, wokeness isn't a real thing. What's wokeness? It's a boogeyman fake term that doesn't really mean anything. But I think beyond all of that, I love how she nailed that the reason why the Democrats aren't being successful right now is because they're not focusing on the things that will actually improve quality of life. And there are many Democrat-specific policies, like free healthcare, for example, that will, at least in theory, increase and improve the quality of life for Americans. And so Democrats need to go back to supporting those policies.
Donald Trump and Elon Musk are dismantling our country piece by piece, and so many Democrats seem content to just sit back and let them. So I say it's time to drop the excuses and grow a fucking spine. I'm Kat Abughazelah, and I'm running for Congress in Illinois' 9th District.
I mean, to say that you're growing a freaking spine is an interesting thing to say just before announcing that you're running for Congress.
Unfortunately, this party has become one where you have to look to the exceptions for real leadership, as the majority work from an outdated playbook. We need a makeover.
Honestly, kind of the same on the right too. Like, I feel like the only good leader on the right is like Thomas Massey, and everyone else is just falling in lockstep with Donald Trump and the MAGA cult, which is unfortunate.
Majority work from an outdated playbook. We need a makeover, which means we need a vision that's bigger than what we've been told is possible. There is absolutely no reason you shouldn't be able to afford housing, groceries, and healthcare with some money left over. Families should have free childcare. Social security should be expanded, and our inalienable rights shouldn't be dependent on who's in power. That means.
So does she support gun rights? Here, she's upset that people are not mentioning gun control as a solution. Yeah, it says Fox has proposed at least 50 solutions to a mass shooting, and none of them are gun control. So she's going to support gun control, but also say that no right to be infringed. Okay, I definitely believe you. Like, not to say that I ever like completely trusted someone who was like a self-avowed progressive, but when I see stuff like this, it's just fair to point that out. Mr. Pizza in the chat says, free healthcare? Yeah, unlikely to improve America's healthcare at all. The UK has free healthcare, but you wait years to get into anything. I hear that there are a few things, like the tricky thing about criticizing countries with universal healthcare is that there's certain procedures that sometimes they do pretty well. The problem is that it's very easy for certain procedures to get backlogged, and then those backlogs basically never get fixed. So we do see this in the UK. I think we see this in Canada for sure. Like, people leave other countries and come to the United States for healthcare. But we also have to be honest that for some of those, especially European Western states, there are certain procedures that they do very quickly and very cheaply. So sometimes people will leave the United States and go to other countries to get their healthcare done. But if we're talking about a holistic, overall, quality healthcare system, yes, the United States, I think, certainly excels in that. Of course, the problem is affordability. It's a case where you get what you pay for, right? And so I think it's one of those things you got to be honest too, where it's like, the doctors have to be paid, right? People say that healthcare is a right, but we don't have a right to force a doctor to do anything for us, and that's where things get tricky.
Standing up to authoritarians, not shrinking away when the fight gets tough. And while current Democratic leadership...
I like this. I like how she's saying that she opposes authoritarians, but the thing that irks me so much is that usually these people will turn a blind eye to authoritarians when they're on the left. So, for example, did she ever have problems with FISA courts? Did she ever have problems with the FBI going to Twitter and saying, hey, censor these stories because they might hurt Joe Biden's chances at winning the election? Probably not, I'm guessing. Probably not. Either she doesn't disagree with them on principle, or she is sort of in denial about whether or not those things even happened and would call them conspiracy theories if if she was confronted with them. So nice words. Not sure if I believe them though, coming from her.
It might be fine cowering to Trump. I'm not. I've spent my entire career reporting on the far right and being attacked by them as a result. In fact, just a few months ago, Elon Musk's lawyers deposed me here in Chicago to ask about my mean tweets. Look, I thought comedy was legal again. This is all to say, I'm not scared of standing up to these people. I know.
What was she saying? Like, if you were you supporting terrorist organizations? I think you probably should have been deposed then, if that's the case. Like, maybe I don't know if you supported Hamas or not, but if you were supporting Hamas, maybe don't support Hamas. I really wish there was more context here about which tweets she was actually getting deposed for. Mr. Pizza says, I still say healthcare here in America is some of the worst. Insurance is becoming worthless. Doctors are greedy. Doctors don't listen to patients. It's a very common thing. It's kind of interesting. I'm no expert on American healthcare, but from my understanding of the American healthcare system, first of all, the American healthcare system is not worthless. It's still pretty good. It's just expensive is the problem. Two is that in some cases, healthcare, there's certain situations that I've seen where someone doesn't have healthcare coverage, and so the state will basically cover the fee. But then if someone does have coverage, but the procedure isn't covered, they end up paying more than someone who didn't have coverage at all. So it's kind of like weird things like that in the American healthcare system that need to be fixed. I think that the whole American healthcare system needs to be revamped. I'm not saying that it needs to be, socialized, but I do think it needs to be revamped and improved, because there's just like weird wonky things like that happen where it's just like, it doesn't make any sense that you're paying for healthcare coverage, and because you're paying for healthcare coverage for a procedure that you're not covered for, that you have to pay more than someone else who doesn't have coverage has to pay. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And saying doctors are greedy, doctors aren't listening to patients. The problem with that is you've got too much intervention of pharmaceutical companies giving doctors benefits and incentives for prescribing certain drugs, for example. And so it's basically like a very results-based economy and results-based industry where it's like the more pills that you can push onto your patients, the more money that you'll get in return. So it's like there are bad incentives built into the American healthcare system.
Know how they think, and I know how to beat them. But my campaign itself is going to be different too, because I don't want to wait a year to help people. We're focused on meeting constituent needs with one simple rule. What if we didn't suck? My campaign and I would rather spend our money on book drives and clothing exchanges and public events than fancy fundraisers for rich donors. I also want my campaign to be as transparent as possible. That's why I'll be posting regular videos about the costs and steps of running for office. We all deserve better. We deserve human rights and financial freedom and a party that stands up to authoritarians.
No, you know me. I voted for Trump. I don't like human rights. Human rights are terrible. They're awful. No. I'm just a little bit annoyed by people whining and virtue signaling about human rights when they can't even articulate what human rights are being stripped away. It's annoying.
We deserve human rights and financial freedom and a party that stands up to authoritarians. We deserve to thrive, not just survive. And I plan to fight for those ideals both on the campaign trail and in Congress. If you want to know more about me and what I believe, you can go to catforillinois.com. I do need to mention that campaigns cost money and ask you to contribute what you can. But I promise your donation will not
or become a member on her YouTube channel. A sub on Twitch. I don't know.
Be wasted on old, ineffective tactics. No spammy guilt trip texts, no focus groups to test my views, and no grifty consultants who care more about their paycheck than actually winning.
It'd be so funny if she's literally doing this just for content and is successful and keeps on making YouTube videos for the content.
Challenge the status quo, and if our leaders won't do it, we will. I'm Kat Abughazelah, and I'm running for Congress.
Abughazelah. Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry for saying your name wrong. Abughazelah. I gotta keep on saying it so I get it right. Thanks for pronouncing your own name. Appreciate that.
Because it's time for Democrats to do more.
I know that Kat has her own website called Kat for Illinois, so I'll be going on there to take a look at her stances at some point. But, you know, she's got a lot of nice words in her video, that's for sure. I don't know if that means that I support everything she stands for, but the one thing that I will support about her, and the one thing I will like about her, is that she seems like someone who would be very consistent and someone who would be principled. Very much. And on the right, you see Thomas Massey, you see Ron and Rand Paul. They were very principled. She seems like someone who'd be very principled, kind of like one of those folks on the left where, yeah, sure, maybe they have some wacky ideas, but the one thing you can respect about them is that they're honest politicians who are genuine in their views. So I do wish Kat some luck, because she seems like she very much wants to improve quality of life for Americans in a way that you do not see from most politicians. But, you know, there's probably going to be a limit to how much I can support her. But hey, we will follow her political career with much interest. I think that's where I'll leave that there.